Hello everyone, I'm Landon Strong and today we're building the 25 plus 5 clock. As you can see, mine does not pass all the tests. I know it's weird. Usually I try and make them pass all the tests, which I did try, but for some reason I get these script errors when I run the tests, and it happens for, what, 6 of them? So I don't really know how to fix that, and I want to get this video out. So I'm going to share with you how I built this 25 plus 5 clock. I think all the functions still work how it's supposed to work. It's just not passing the test for some reason. It could be the environment I'm using. It could be, yeah, the fact that I'm using Vite plus React instead of a CDN. So yeah, I'm not really sure why that is, but let's just build this project anyway. So this project, if you haven't seen it, what it is, it's 25 plus 5 clock. We have to make it functionally similar to this one right here, where we have a break length and a session length. So basically, you're supposed to work for 25 minutes and then have a break of 5 minutes, and then work for 25 minutes, have a break for 5 minutes, and so on and so on. And it's supposed to be a productivity hack. So, yeah, this is what ours looks like, and let's get into it. So I am using VS Code to build mine instead of CodePen or some other editor. VS Code gives me awesome keyboard shortcuts, gives me GitHub Copilot, a bunch of awesome extensions, and I'm also going to be using Vite plus React instead of a CDN. So it's a little bit more complicated to get this set up because you need Node.js installed, but it is, once you have Node.js installed, it's pretty straightforward and simple as long as you kind of know what a terminal is and how to use that somewhat. I mean, it's not that complicated. You just open up the terminal with Control J or command prompt on Windows. You can type in command prompt and then you can run these commands. So let me open up a new window so we can start from scratch. Uh, I guess this is the completed project where we split it up into little components, time setters and display, and then um, these components look like this, where we pass in a bunch of props and the display, uh, you know, as red or white, depending on if the timer's running, and we can play or pause our timer. All right, so and we also have an alarm sound, which I think I got off of YouTube, so I'm gonna have to show you guys how to do that too. All right, open up the folder that you want this project in, and then we are going to run npm. So in order to run npm, you need Node.js installed, and then we're gonna run npm create vite at latest. It'll ask us some questions. We need to build the 25 plus 5 clock. I'm just going to call it clock because I don't want to add a 25 plus 5, and it's going to be TypeScript. All right, so here's our clock. I'm going to open up that folder. FCC copy from clock, select. All right, and then we can do npm i. All right, our install is finished. Now we can do npm run dev and open it up on 5174. Wonderful. All right, so this is the starter project for Vite. Pretty simple. Whatever shows up on this side gets reflected over here. As you can see, we have a counter, and the count is count right here, and count gets set from this use state and this button. So set count is count plus one, and yeah, that's how that works. All right, we just want to get rid of all that. Yep, screw that. We don't need the CSS either, so go into index of CSS. We'll keep the color and background color and the fonts, but everything else needs to go. And we'll just set margin and padding to 0, margin of 0, padding of 0. Just get rid of margin and padding defaults. And then also inside of app.css, we want to get rid of all this. Delete, control save. I thought I got rid of all this. I didn't save it, that's why. All right, there. Now when I save, we have a blank startup page. Aha. Now, how the heck are we going to be building this thing? Well, we need this break length, session, all that jazz. So let's take a look at how to do this. First thing I want to do is define a few things. Yeah, this project is probably going to be the longest one of the series. So, yeah, buckle in. All right, first let's define some defaults. So let's do const default break time. This is 5 times 60, which is 5 minutes. And then we're going to do const default session time. Session time is 5 times 25, or 25 times 60, I mean. We're going to have const min of 60, so it has to be at least 60 seconds. Const max is an hour, and const interval is 60. So an interval is just a 1 minute up or down. All right, so inside of our app, we're going to have a few use states. The first use state is going to be break time. Break time, and then we're going to have const session time. Use session time, const display state, display state. Set display state. So our break time is actually going to start at default break time, and for session time, also default session time. Our display state is going to be of type display state. So I'm going to actually define a display state type in here. So this is one of the beauties of using TypeScript. Display state actually comes from a helpers file. So I'm going to actually create a file, and we're going to call it helpers, or helpers.tsx. Actually, I don't know why it's tsx. It should just be ts. Let me do F2 and change that to just ts. All right, so inside of helpers, we are going to have two functions. The first is our display state, which is it defines a time type, and time running. So the time is what's actually showing up here. The time type, if it's a session or break, and then time if it's running or not. So if we play or pause it, that's what that does. That's the why we have those. And then we have format time, which will actually format this time into 25:00. And that looks like this. Format time string, we get math.floor, time divided by 60. The seconds is time modulus 60. And we return minutes, and we put a 0 in front if it's greater than, or if it's less than 10. And same with seconds, we put a 0 in front if it's less than 10. So not terribly complicated, but it can be if you have no idea what you're doing. So, all right, app.tsx, we can import the display state now from helpers, and then we can define our defaults here. Our default is time of session time, session time. We have our time type of session, and we have a timer running of false, because we start out not running our time. All right, so now let's go into our return statement here and display some markup. We're going to have a div with a class name of clock. Inside of this div, we're going to have another div of setters. So the setters are going to be this brink length setter and the session length setter. Inside the setter, we're going to have a div of break, div.break. Inside the break, we're going to have an h4 of h4 hashtag break label. All right, so this h4 is going to have an ID of break label. Inside the h4, we're going to have text of break length. That's what shows up here. Although when I save it, now it will show up like at the top. But I want it to look like this. So you can hopefully see the structure. I'm going to keep this page up. And then we're going to have a time setter component. Although I haven't made that yet. Underneath this div, we're going to have the session. So div.session. Inside the session, we're going to have, you guessed it, h4, session label, session length. Beautiful. And then another time setter. Wonderful. And then underneath this div, but still inside of clock, we're going to have our display. So it's another component that I haven't defined yet. And then we're going to have an audio tag. Audio, which is ID of beep. And the source is going to be an alarm sound. Yeah, so a few errors right now, but hopefully we will resolve them. All right, so to make this time setter component, we have to create a new file called timesetter, timesetter.tsx, and then this timesetter component is going to be a React functional component. So I have React snippets, so I can do RAFCE, and it will boilerplate the time setter function for me. And actually, we don't have to import React anymore. And this time setter component is going to be of type React.fc, React.fc, time setter props. So we're going to define time setter props up at the top. It's going to be an interface, time setter props. So what does this component take in? It takes in a time, takes in a set time. It takes in a min of number, a max of number, interval of number, and a type of either break or session. Break or session. Wonderful. And end that off. And the errors go away. Wonderful. And then inside of here, we have to destructure and take out all of those things. So we want the time, set time, min, max, interval, and session and type. All right. So now we have to use these. So inside of our return statement, we are going to have a div. Inside this div, we're going to have a button with it's going to have a onClick event. OnClick equals an arrow function. This arrow function is going to take our time and check if it's greater than min. If it is, it's going to set the time to time minus interval. Otherwise, it's going to do nothing, so null. All right, save that. And then underneath there, we're going to have an ID, so that it can be picked up by FreeCodeCamp. So ID is going to be type of decrement. And inside of here, we're going to actually have an icon, far arrow down. But we don't have this icon yet. So how do we get this icon? Well, we open this up, clear it, and do npm I react icons. All right, and that should import a bunch of icons for us. And we can rerun our thing. And now we can import this far arrow down from reactive icons. Control dot, hopefully, no, it's not. Control dot, no, it doesn't, darn it. So I actually have to import it by myself. Import far arrow down and far arrow up from react icon slash far. Beautiful. So we have this button here. We want to actually do another one for the up arrow. So let's just copy that down. In between, we have a span though. Span is type length, time divided by 60. Instead of 60, I'm going to do interval here. Interval. And then it's going to, display that time. So if we click into here, obviously there's a bunch of errors. Shoot. So I can't show it without getting rid of the errors first, which is kind of annoying. So yeah. For the increment, this one's going to be increment. We need to set the time plus the interval, right? And then we also have to do time less than min, or time less than max, actually. And set the time. This has to be far arrow up. Save that. Now to app.tsx, we can import this time setter. Wonderful. And we have to put in a bunch of props. So in React, we have to put in props, whatever is required. So the time setter function or component, we have time, set time, min, max, and these are all required. So we need those. So time equals break time. We have set time equals set break time. We have min, max of max. We have interval of interval and type of break. And that should work. Cool. And I'm just going to copy this, except we're going to have to change a bunch of this stuff. The break time is going to be session time. Session time. And min max interval, right? And then this is session, type of session. All right, save that. Now we need to get this display to work. So that is another component that we make. So create a new file, display.tsx, React RFACE, create that for me. And into my display component we go. This one is going to have another interface for display props. And it's going to have a display state, which is of type display state, reset, which is void, and start stop. Start stop, which is another function that takes in the display state, and returns void. Okay. And that we need to import display state from our helpers. Wonderful. And then we can define this as a react.fc that takes in the display state or display props. All right. And then we can destructure our props, display state, reset, and start stop. And then for our markup, we're going to use these. All right. So we're going to have a div.display for a class name. And then we're going to have an h4 with a ID of timer label. And then inside this h4, we're going to have the display state dot timer time type, so that if it's session, then it will display session. If it's break, then it will display break here. Okay. And then underneath the h4, we're going to have a span. The span is going to be the time, so it's going to have an ID of time left. Time left. The style is going to be a different color and whatnot, depending on if it's running. So we also want to make sure to format time from helpers. And it's going to be display state.time. All right, so let's do the style now. The style is going to have a different color, so red or white, depending on if the display state is running. So let's do backticks in here, and let's check if the display state dot is running or timer running. Then we want to have a red color, otherwise we want a white color. All right, save that. Wonderful. Let me have more real estate here. I don't know why I forget that sometimes. All right, so underneath the span, we're gonna have another div. Inside this div, we're gonna have a button or two buttons: the play pause and the reset. So we're gonna do button hashtag start stop, and then this button is going to have a display state.timer running, stop or start, except instead of stop or start, we're gonna actually do fa pause and fa play. So we're gonna do fa pause, which we get from React icons, and fa play, which we also get from React icons. Fa play. So in order to import these, let's just go to the top, import them from React icon / fa. And then we're gonna have another button. So the button will be of hashtag reset, and it's gonna have a fa.undo, fa undo. Wonderful. And let's import that. Fa undo. Cool. This reset is going to, both of these are going to have on clicks. So on click is going to be reset, which I think is actually just passed in as a prop. So we're going to have to handle that in the parent function. And then this button is going to have an on click as well of start stop, which again is we're going to have to handle inside of the parent function. All right, so that is our display. Now we can import this. So control dot, import it. Save that, and then we have to pass the props that it needs. In this case, the props that it needs are display state, which is a type display state, our display state. Reset is going to be reset function, that I'm going to define, and start stop is going to be a start stop function. All right, so let's just define those functions quick. Const reset. I'm just going to console.log reset and const start stop, which is going to console log start stop. All right, save that. So now we have this alarm sound too that we need, and I got that from YouTube. Um, Hopefully I can find it again. YouTube alarm sound. Um, is it this one? No, it's only like 6 seconds long. Short. Oh, yeah. I need to go to YouTube first. Screw this. YouTube. I need a sound, alarm sound, sound, uh, like 5 seconds. 5 seconds. Um, right here. Maybe this one. Yeah, this one might work. I don't even know what it sounds like because of my recording software, but I'm sure it will probably be fine. So let's just copy this URL and go into an MP3 converter, YouTube MP3 converter, YouTube MP3 converter, and probably just the first one is probably fine. YouTube to MP3 converter. All right, let's paste this in, convert, loading. It's a potentially dangerous site, apparently. Um, Might just use it anyways. So we have to download this alarm sound effect. All right, so let me find this inside of my folder. So my downloads, we have the sound effect. I'm going to change it to alarm sound.mp3, number 2, sure. And then I'm going to move it into my code file. So in order to do that, I can just go into my clock, and I have this right here. I'm going to open up my folders, and then inside of assets, I guess, I'm just going to drag this into my assets, right? And then I'm going to change the name again to alarm sound. All right. So now we have this beautiful sound file inside of our project. I don't even know what it sounds like, but it should be fine. And this alarm sound, we can import at the top. Pretty simple to import. Import alarm sound from /assets slash alarm sound.mp3. Wonderful. And now everything shows up because it got rid of the error. Oh, thank goodness. Okay, cool. All right. So now what do we have to do? We have to make this look a lot better, that is for sure. All right, so to make it look a lot better, we can go into app.css, and because we have no CSS right now, and we need to fix that. So first thing we're going to grab is the clock, and the clock we're going to give a max width of 700 pixels, and then we're going to give it a margin of 0 auto. We're going to give it a height of 100 view height. We're going to give it a display of flex. We're going to give it a flex direction of column. We'll give it a justify content and align items of center. Save that, and there we go. It gets put in the center. Awesome. All right, so we're going to grab our setters now. Setters. It's going to have a display of flex, text align of center, a width of 100%, and a justify content of space around. Save that. Already looking a lot better with the spacing. All right, we're going to grab our buttons and we're going to give them a margin of 20 pixels, a padding of 10 pixel, 20 pixels. We're going to give it a border of none, a border radius of 5 pixels, a background color of not black, but hashtag 2222AA, so it's kind of blue. So now we need a color of white, so that our icons become white, and we're going to give a cursor of pointer. Cool. All right, so now when we hover over these, and the break length already works, the session length works to change that. The session is not being updated because we have to do some JavaScript for that. So we want to change our H4 as well. Give it a font size of 30 pixels and give it a margin top of 20 pixels. There we go. We're going to change our span to be font size of 24 pixels. 24 pixels. Save that. We're going to grab our display, and we're going to make sure it centers. So text line of center and a margin top of 20 pixels. Save that, and there we go. Our session length, break length are all centered correctly, and they look a lot nicer. So I think that's it for our CSS. I don't think we have any more CSS to do. So now we have to do our JavaScript, the tricky part of this project. Yes. Okay. So first thing, let's change is when we change the session length, the session should also change with it. Oh yeah, instead of set break time and set session time, I'm actually going to change these to change break time and change session time. And then these are going to be their own functions. So up here, we're going to do const change break time, takes in a time of number, and then this break time is going to say if display state dot timer running. So if it is running, then we don't want to do anything, just return. Otherwise, we want to set our break time to time. And then we also want to do our other function, which is change session time. Takes in a time. If it's running, then don't change it. Otherwise, set session time. And then we also need to set our display state so that the time it's updated right away. Timer type is session. All right, so now when I change this, our session also changes. So that's kind of cool, isn't it? All right, cool. If I play, nothing happens. Okay, because start stop has to change. All right, so let's do that start stop quick. So start stop, we're just going to start our timer. So set display state, and we're going to actually grab the previous display state and change it. So grab the previous display state. We can do that by putting an arrow function inside the set display state hook or whatever it is. I don't even know what it's called, but inside of here, we need to change some of the stuff. So yeah, that actually looks good. We want to set the previous thing and then the timer running to not running if it was running before. Save that. And now when we hit play, it turns red. It doesn't actually count down yet because we haven't done that yet, but it changes red. So that's how we know that that timer running state is changing. Okay, cool. Now we need to reset. Reset, what is reset going to do? It's going to set our break time back to our default break time. It's going to set our session time back to our default session time. It's going to set our display state back to our default display states, all right, which is all that stuff. And it's also going to pause our audio clip. So const audio, we're going to grab our audio, which is ID of beep, I think, right? Hashtag, yeah, ID of beep. And we're going to pause it. So audio.pause, and we're going to reset it back to 0. Okay, cool. I think that was just for one of the FreeCodeCamp tests I needed to do that for. Uh, but obviously it doesn't pass all of them, so what's the point, right? I don't know. All right, so now we need to decrement our display, have a function for that. And this decrement display function is going to be called by use effect. All right, so const decrement, decrement display is going to be a function. And this function is going to set our display state, previous time minus 1. Perfect. That is exactly what I want. Right, so this just decrements our time by 1 when it gets called. So it has to call it every time though. So in order to call it once a second, I have a use effect, I think, yeah. That's up here. We're gonna have a use effect. Our use effect hook comes out of React. And I'll try and explain these use effects as well as possible. But basically it takes an arrow function. And then the second argument is a dependency array. If it's blank, then it will just run once when the component mounts. All right, so but inside of here, we're going to have let timer ID be a number. We're going to say if display state's not running, display state.timer running, then just return. We're going to say if display state is running. So if it's not running, then return. If it is running, then we actually have to set an interval. So timer ID, we're going to set it equal to a window.setInterval. And this function that it takes in is going to be the decrement play function. And it's going to call it every 1000 milliseconds, which is 1 second. All right, and then it's going to return for cleanup. So yeah, the return out of a use effect function actually is the like on dismount. So what it does on dismount, and what we wanted to do is clear our interval. So window.clearInterval and pass in that timer ID. So that knows what timer to clear. The dependency array is going to be whenever our display state dot timer running state changes. So basically, when we hit play now, it should start counting down, which it does, and when we pause, it should stop it because it clears the interval when it dismounts. Okay, so that is awesome. And it also, if it's not running, then it just returns out, right? All right. So now when it gets down to 0, we actually have to play our sound. In order to play the sound, I have another use effect to handle that. So yes, you can have more than one use effect in a component. I actually did not know that for a time, and it was really frustrating me because I was trying to do everything in one use effect. But yeah, this use effects is going to do that. Probably not. No, it's not. But we are going to say if display state.time is 0. I'll get rid of this though. The display state.time, actually just going to have display state. So whenever display state changes or break time or session time changes, then it will run this use effect. We're going to have const audio. Const audio equals document.getElementID beep. And then we're going to set audio dot current time to 2. So if you want to make your beep sound like shorter, you can set the current time to, so it starts in the middle of the sound. So I just want to do that so that it doesn't take forever for the sound to end. And then we can do audio.play. And it's giving me an error because I have to do a catch in here. And then this catch is going to console log the error. And then we have to set our display state to be previous, and then previous. And then the timer type is going to change and also the time. So the time is going to change into either the break time or session time, and then the time type is going to also change into session, break, or session or break, depending on what it is right now. And I have an error right here because I need to put a parenthesis around here, I think. Parentheses, right? Save? No. Oh, where is it? Oh, and I also need to do this. Here we go. Cool. And I think, is that all? I think that's it, actually. Holy crap. Holy crap. Well, that was a lot of code. Yeah, that's it. That's all of it. Start, stop. Actually, don't even use this display state here. Yeah, I don't need that. I don't know why it's passing that in. Save that. I don't need that. All right, so now I can set this down to 1 and 1. And let's actually see if it works. So to test it, what I did is I just changed these to, what, 3 seconds? And then I played it. So save it, and you have to actually do a hard refresh for it to count. I know it's 0.05, but yeah. Session, break, and it calls the beeper function for the sound. So you should be hearing a bunch of beeps, which it might be a little annoying. So let me pause this. All right, so yeah, it seems like it works. Control Z to get those back. And we can add in the test suite. So the test suite, we can add into our index.html file, and we can change the title while we're at it. The title is going to be 25 plus 5 o'clock. 25 plus 5 o'clock. And then our script tag is going to be off of FreeCodeCamp. I defer it just to be safe. And it comes from the bottom of these user stories. Right here, CDN link to run the test in whatever environment you like. And then we can actually run the test. So as long as it's saved, yep, here it is. We can go into 25 plus 5 o'clock, run the test. And yeah, it like messes with these all over the place and all this jazz. And right here, it's actually like it's broken. So I just have to hit run test again. Right here, it's another one broken. Oh, 19 out of 29 pass. Interesting. That's weird. It doesn't pass all the tests. Um, I don't even know. It looks like only 3 of them failed for some reason. Maybe I like have to run them again and like wait longer. That could be. Right here, I need to hit run test again. Right here, it's broken. Oh, no, it's not. Right here, it's broken. Right? Yeah. So run test again. Right here, it's broken again, I think. Right here, it's broken. I think for 6 of them, they're broken, so I just have to hit run test manually for it to move on. All right, move on. And then there we go. The last 3 pass. So yeah, we get 22 out of 29, which I think is the same as what we get here. Well, 23 out of 29. You know, whatever. I don't really care. 22, 23. I think it works how it's supposed to, which is the main thing. And so now we can actually put this on Amplify and GitHub for you guys to see. And let's do that right now. All right, so first thing we want to do is go to GitHub and create a repo. All right, let's go to my repositories and hit new. We're going to say FCC 25, 20, 25 plus 5 block. Sure. All right, public, create this repo. We're going to take this remote origin, copy that. If you don't have Git installed, make sure to have Git installed in order to do this. That's very important. All right, let's end this session. Let's do git add. Let's do git init first because we have to initialize the repository. As you can see, all these are untracked. And now we can do git add all, clear it, git commit, -m, so our commit message. We're gonna say putting the full project on there. And then we can do git remote at origin, which is what I copied off of GitHub. So that it knows where to push to. And then I can do git push. Although it tells me to set an upstream origin main, I can do the shorthand version, which is git push -u origin main, and then it will push up to GitHub. So there it's already done. When I refresh this page, our code is on here. So you guys can go to this link and view the code. Next thing we want to do is go to Netlify. Open up Netlify, log in, all this jazz. All right, and then we want to add a new site, import from existing site, deploy from GitHub, authorize from GitHub, and then we want 25, right there, 25 plus 5 clock, main, npm run build, dist, and deploy. Beautiful. Now it does deploy pretty quickly, so I don't even have to like stop and pause. The deploy log is kind of cool. Shows you what it's running. It's installing npm packages and technical and framework. Skipped a bunch of those, and it's already done. So now I can open up the production deploy, and now anyone can go to this link. In order to change the link, we can go to site configuration, go into domain management, and edit the site name. The site name I'm going to call is FCC um, FCC Landon Clock. We'll do that, sure. Save that. And then now when I go into here, it's a different domain, which is awesome. And it runs the test the same. Everything is the same, except this is a public URL that anyone can go to. And I can put this in for our solution link. So then employers can see it or anyone can see it for your certification. All right, beautiful. We have completed all of the front end challenges, all these front end library projects. Second time, I guess I've done all these. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned a lot. And make sure to like, subscribe, all that jazz, comment down below, and I'll see you later. Peace out. Bye.